This is my list of the good things that you should have in your little pocket as a GM. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of How to Be a Great GM. My name is Guy. Of course, it is me and I and myself only, I swear. Now, we're going to be looking at the good ideas that you should be having, or good ideas for GMs to include in your prep, in your work for tonight's game. Good ideas to include. So, yeah, there's not much more to talk about than that. I'm going to jump straight into it. It's a short video today, I promise. And so, jumping straight into it. Right, first thing. Plan out your adventure in the 5-step method or in the 1-2-1 method or the 1-2-2 method. If you don't know what those are, done a whole bunch of videos. We'll hopefully remember to put a link in the doobly-doo thing down below. So we will explore all of that in those videos. But effectively, the 5-step method is just 10 little steps, 10 little beats that is going to run the adventure that you are going to be going through this evening. You're not going to run through all 10 of them in a single session, not unless you're running a 12-hour or 13 or 14-hour session. You don't want to do that, but you do want to have a little bit of a plan. So by having a rough adventure plan, you can, at the beginning of tonight's session, know where to start, and then next week, when you sit back and go, what did we do last week? Where are we in the adventure? You have your plan to then look at and go, ooh, I missed that part. So I need to now include that in tonight's game somehow. Maybe it's a peasant that the characters meet. Maybe it's a this, maybe it's a that. Either way, it doesn't matter. By having a basic rough plan, that will work for you. Now, you could even just do spider diagrams. I've seen some people do spider diagrams where they go circle, meet the druid, next circle, journey to old forest, next circle. What works for you is what you must use. And there are lots of things out there you could turn to for that. If you want the templates, they are on our website. I will say that much. Links down below, but no more than that. Okay, so plan out your adventure in rough. Why do I say in rough rather than plan your adventure out? The reason why I say in rough is because no adventure is going to survive the players starting to interact with it. At the very beginning, no, they don't want to work for the Duke. No, they think the Duke is shady because you said one line of dialogue which they thought might be an evil line of dialogue. Or there are a multitude of reasons why players just decide no, they're not going to do what would make sense for them to do. So by having a rough plan, it keeps you agile. It keeps you on your toes as the GM, and it prevents you from trying to railroad them back to where you wanted them. So if it's just a rough plan, if it's nebulous, if it's kind of like, well, we're going to have this, we're going to have that, we're going to do it's going to be lovely, and the players start to then mix up all of that stuff, that's okay. You still have the security of those scenes that you planned, a cave troll in a cave, the stats that you've got for that, or whatever. That's okay because you'll go there, and then you'll go there, and then you'll go there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So plan your adventure rough, number 1. Number 2. Have NPC names handy. Now, when I say have NPC names handy, how many NPC names would I recommend that you have? Well, if it's a standard 3-hour session, and I say standard 3-hour session, for me, that's a standard session, 3 hours. If it goes longer than 3 hours, generally speaking, I very seldom do that online, simply because I find it quite taxing. Round the table, maybe 4 or 5 hours, no more than that. Personally, that's just me. You might go for double that. It doesn't matter. How many NPC names should you have? I would advocate that you have about 40 to 80. What? What do you mean 40 to 80? Where the hell am I supposed to get 40 to 80 names from? Well, here's a trick that I have been using for a long time, and no one seems to have noticed, or even if they did, it doesn't matter, is I will generally create a table for myself. And if you create a table listed 1 through 20, you have a name for every letter of the alphabet, and you still have some alphabet letters left over. So that's not so daunting, is it? Give me a name that begins with an A. Anna. Okay, give me a name that begins with a B. Byron. Okay, C. Catherine. There really aren't difficult ones until you get to X, which actually doesn't feature in the top 20 letters of the alphabet anyway. So you're pretty golden. So you make one column of 20 names and just write down those 20 names. Then you make another column of 20 names. And instead of starting with the letter A, start with the letter Q. And say, right, so Q R, what? Q-U-R-S-T-U-V-W. So start there and then go back down with the letters A, starting from the letter A again. It's really simple. And suddenly you have 40 NPC names. And you can change the vowels. I have a whole video on how to do this, by the way, so you can go and check out that video, NPC names on the fly. But I have a whole system where you just go in and you just change the vowels. John becomes Jin. Anna becomes Eenie or Any. It doesn't matter. It's now she's a gnome and her name is Any, the gnome. It's simple as that, but it was originally Anna. So you do that and then you've got 40. And if you do a third column, you've got 60. And it's maybe taken you 10 minutes. Maybe it's taken you a little bit longer. But now suddenly the PCs go, oh, I walk over to the blacksmith. What's his name? You look at them confidently. You grab a D20. You roll it. You look down. It's a 15. You look at column 1, column 2, column 3. And then suddenly you know, okay, the blacksmith's name is Peeman. I don't know why his name is Peeman. Awful name, but that's what happens when you're recording these videos live and you don't edit them like I do. Peeman. His name is Peeman. Peeman? Yes, it's been an issue his entire life. And if you make any jokes about his name, you will get a hammer in the face. Look at that. Not only do we get the name of the NPC, but we also get the NPC's entire attitude, that if someone walks up to him and says, hey, Peeman, he will turn around and say, are you being funny? No, I wasn't taking the... I wasn't at all. I want a sword. Here's money. I'm going to shut up. Such a wonderful interaction of a random list of 30 names or 60 names. So have a whole bunch of names. A whole bunch of names. If you've got 5, if you list 5 NPC names, which I used to advocate way back when, that's the first little village they come across. Now what are you going to do when they walk into another village or when they go to a carnival? You're going to run out of names. So 60 names, easy, and you're sorted. Okay, now, never say no, say no but. This is also a tricky one because sometimes you do actually have to say no. And it's about knowing the difference, you know? I'm not even going to try and continue running that joke. So sometimes you have to say no and mean it. That could be when the characters are trying to create a character that doesn't fit within your world. Maybe the name that they've chosen for their character doesn't fit within the world. Oh, my dwarf's name is Brian 8 XQ Vivio. Brian X8XQ Vivio? What the hell is that? Yeah, no, he's a modern dwarf. Yeah, but we're playing in a fantasy game, so that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Or, oh, well, I want my character to be named John Wayne. You mean like the Western cowboy? Yeah, and I want him to have a swagger and an American Western accent. But you're playing an elf. Where would that come from? I mean, why would his name be John Wayne? Is he raised by him? No, he's raised by elves. They just thought it would be funny. No, it doesn't fit in my world. I honestly don't see how that could work. When you then have an opportunity, you can say no, but. So, no, I don't think that would work. But if that elf was raised by humans and you wanted to call him Jinwano, or, yeah, Jinwano, because it's John Wayne, but we've swapped some vowels around to make it a little bit more exotic so that the rest of the players are not losing focus every time they talk to you and starting to think about the Western actor and rather thinking about Jinwano, who is this elf who's been raised by humans in a very cowboy-esque kind of way. He spent his life in the saddle, ranching cattle, so he's quite manly, quite this, quite that. I could accept that. So by learning the difference between sometimes just saying no, it's not going to work, and you have to learn to say no, you really do. And saying no, but is really powerful. That but tool allows you to suggest things. Don't be offended if the players go, no, you know what, I'm just going to change it altogether. Don't be offended by that. That will happen sometimes as well. Remember, this is a dialogue. This is not you as God on high going, well, no, but you could do this, this, and that, and then expecting the players to do that. So you are providing options, they're providing options, you are finding the middle ground. Your job as the GM, one of the many hats that you have to wear, is about maintaining consistency within your story world, within your world. That's part of your job, that consistency. But it's also about making sure that people are having fun in telling a collaborative story. So you're a little bit of an adjudicator in terms of, everybody else's characters are doing this. I kind of feel like your character needs to somehow fit in. I'm not going to tell you how, that's your job, but no, I don't think that's the right way to do it. Let's try something else. It also allows when the characters are trying to do something ridiculous. I want to ride on the back of the elephant and then leap into the air, fire my arrows, and then land on the tusk of the elephant, legs akimbo on either tusk, and ride like that. No. But what you could do is jump up into the air and do a somersault and fire an arrow and then land back on its back. You could do that because you're a dwarven plate mail. So I'm going to need you to make me some strength checks to be able to jump up in that direction, and then an acrobatics check when you land so that you don't just slide off of the beast's neck. So sometimes it is about providing an alternative to a ridiculous situation that the players might have presented themselves. The fact that a dwarf's legs might not be wide enough to split so that he could land on either tusk could also be a factor in that. So just remember, no or no but. Always aim to include your PCs. No? Isn't that the point of the game? I have seen many times when GMs, especially novice GMs, are including everybody except for one or two people because they don't know what to do with their characters, because the characters are split away from the party or the characters are doing something unusual. And they're like, what are you doing? Are you still crocheting in a scarf to strangle the dragon with? Okay, I'm going to come back to you. Everybody else, you're going to have a cool adventurous time because I know what to do with you. But crochet person, I don't know what to do. Make yourself learn this particular mantra. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? This should be like the greeting that we do when we see each other at conventions. It should be like, nice to meet you, and you, and you, and you. Even to people just walking past, because hey, you never know, you might make friends, and or get arrested for harassing strangers in public. But either way, I mean, it should be a case of, in your head as the GM, you should be ticking through every player at the table, or on Zoom, it's even easier. You can just tick around that Zoom screen. So that is what you should be doing, is looking for that angle where you are including everybody and making sure that everybody gets their moments. And don't just go, what are you doing? Next, what are you doing? Oh, that's brilliant. No, okay, cool. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. Give each and every player their own time frame in which to operate as well. And of course, you're going to get some players. What are you doing? I'm thinking I'm going to cast a spell. Maybe. You can rush them and say, what are you doing? The situation is tense. You've got to act now. What are you doing? I'm going to check the rule. No. What are you doing? If you're going to check the rules, I'm going to skip you. Okay, skipped. I'm coming back to you. Going to go and I'm going to work around. Coming back to you. Are you ready now? You're going to cast something. I've checked the rules and I've decided I'm going to do nothing. Great. Okay, your character stands there doing nothing. What are you doing? And then you just keep going. Don't let it phase you. It's going to happen. Trust me. I hate it when it does, but there you go. Something that you should try and aim to do, and this is an experiment which you can do tonight as your game is unfolding, or this afternoon. Maybe you play games in the afternoon. Maybe it's only me who plays games in the evening. But something that you can do or practice on is learning to read your group. Now, I'm pretty good at this when it comes to anticipating their story needs, because it's such a big focus of mine. So it is a skill that I would say is I'm pretty good at determining what players want from their game. So reading that, I've made lots of mistakes in the past. I misinterpreted so many times as I was practicing, going, well, when I see players smiling and laughing and talking about a plot, it means that they are engaged in it. So I can give them more of that. Or when I try to force them to do something and they resist by slowing down, I know I need to slow down because they need more time to absorb and to understand and to reflect on stuff. So I really advocate you need to practice reading your players, and it's simple stuff. Try something new and go, okay, well, normally our games run like this. So what if I give them dream sequences where the monsters are all phantasmal? Do they get frustrated? Do they lose interest? Okay, cool. I won't ever go that way. What if I do more of a mystery type thing where they've got to follow a clue and then follow another clue and then follow another clue? Do they like that? Actually, they did seem to respond quite well to that. So that's something that I can use again in my arsenal. If you are playing with the same folk time and time again, this is a great exercise to get into, because when you're with new people, you can't read new people. You don't know who they are. You don't know their personalities. You don't know their backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. But when you're playing with the same people over and over and over again, it's always good to sit back and just go, okay, what do I think they want? How do I prove to myself that that's what's happening? And you do that by reading them. And if they're bored, if they're disengaged, if they're uninterested, then that's not what they're interested in, and move away from it. Don't try and find something within that makes them interesting. Just move away. Just find something else. So do try and practice reading your party. And at the end of the session, there is nothing wrong with going, so guys, I felt that you were really, really into this whole system thing. Was I right or was I wrong? You're not asking them if you're a good GM or if you made a mistake or if they were happy with the game. So they should be able to answer and go, yeah, no, I was interested in it. I thought it was pretty cool. And you can also at the same time say, you know what, guys, I noticed that in today's session, there wasn't the same energy that we've had before. I think it maybe is a bit of a boring kind of, maybe this murder mystery is not as exciting as I thought it was. And again, it opens the dialogue for them to say, well, I don't particularly like murder mysteries, but I don't know about the rest of the group. I mean, I just wanted to hit the barman and move on. It's a skill that you need to learn. It's a good idea to start practicing it. Might as well start now. Okay, and then finally, just because I think I've spoken long enough now. I know people are dozing off, and that's something that you don't want, by the way. So last point is keep your notes in a fashion that you can understand them. Now, this is important. This is really, really important. And if you've watched my live shows, especially the ones recently, you'll notice that as the game is coming to an end and I ask the players, so what did you enjoy about today's session? I'm actually not really listening to what they're saying. I am giving it half an ear, but I'm frantically writing down the notes from my sessions. My sessions are 2 hours long, so I don't have long session notes to take down, but I do try and jot down this happened, that happened. This is the outcome. This is what I've got planned for next week. I cannot emphasize enough. I cannot emphasize enough. If you take notes, if you make notes, you will be in a much better position the following week. You can always look back at those notes, get a little inspiration going, why did I write down the egg is fire? The egg is fire. Let's see. I need an NPC who's going to ask the PCs what the egg is fire might mean. Or if they have an egg, or they heard about an egg. Yeah. And sometimes you just ask your players, hey guys, I have a note here that says egg. What does that mean to any of you? Anything at all. If it doesn't mean anything to them, it doesn't mean that you erase that. You just put a question mark next to it and go, well, I will think about that at 3 a.m. in the shower whilst having a bath one morning. I don't know. It comes to you sometimes it doesn't. But keeping notes is absolutely a good practice for a GM. And if you don't do it, I suggest you start doing it, because it really is handy. Anyway, enough from me. Those are my thoughts for this week. Good ideas for you to start including in your role-playing games now, tonight, today. Do not stop. This is it. Use it now. So yes, that's my thoughts. Your thoughts, please leave comments in the comment space thing. That's why it's there. I love reading those comments. This week's sponsor was Dungeon Fog, dungeonfog.com. Of course, we all know them. We love them. I use them exclusively for all of my dungeon map making, and they have been with us for a long time. Now, why would you want to get in on Dungeon Fog? Why now? Well, if you use the code GREATGM, written in the down there, if you use that code, you get a discount to a subscription. Why subscribe though? Why? Well, if you're making lots of maps, that's point number one. But point number two is this month, the month of December, they are doing a massive call. Now, they do this sort of periodically throughout the year, but specifically for December, there is a call for props. What props do you want to see in Dungeon Fog? How amazing is that? What other software out there goes, hey guys, give us a list of 90 things that you want us to add, and then they do that every 3 months or so, or 4 months, or 5 months, depending, because there's also props coming out every second month that are just equally amazing. So they're doing a big shout out to the community. You join them on their Discord server, link down below, and you'll see that there's a wish list, which you can then add in a wish. You can see what other people have asked for and vote for, either their suggestions or your own suggestions going through. And then by mid-January, if all things go according to plan, those props will become available. Quite literally, if you want to have a science console from a starship, and that's what you feel Dungeon Fog needs, you can propose it and people can vote for it. If you want to have different suits of armor, or you want dragon bones, or you want this, or you want that, now is the opportunity. So get involved in one of the greatest map-making software things out there. Have your vote counted for the props you want to have added, which will benefit all of us. Anyway, big shout out to Dungeon Fog and to all of you for watching through to the end. My sponsors and I appreciate it. Until next time, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.